Welcome to the SciFi Diner Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog.
Good evening. I am Miles P. McLaughlin.
And I'm Dave Sellers.
And tonight we have a unique show, at least I think it's a unique show, in that we had a forum that we had many of you asked to share out. We got a bunch of responses. We're going to talk about those responses here tonight. And we asked three questions. We said, we asked you to evaluate all 14, I believe, Star Trek movies. Some of you may debate whether some of those are actually belong in this list. That's a whole nother discussion for another time. But for each movie, we asked three things. We said, how does this movie honor Roddenberry's vision? How is it as far as entertainment value? And then how is it as far as gateway potential? Dave, can you walk us through a little bit about what we mean by those three things? If we can pull up that, I think that's up at the top of the actual form if you just want to run us through this.
Yep. So the first question we asked was, how does this film show respect to Roddenberry's vision of Star Trek? Does it stay true to the heart of Trek, exploring the human condition and portraying a hopeful, positive future for humanity? The second one was the entertainment value. And, how strong is this as an overall movie experience? Things we looked to consider were the quality of the story, the quality of the writing and the dialogue, the pacing of the movie, the special effects, the character portrayal and development. I mean, that was a big one for me too. We're used to these characters, we get to know these characters. How are you continuing to portray and develop them? Are you going out of character, or are you staying with what's become known and loved? And then gateway potential. If you had to introduce Star Trek to someone new, how likely would this movie be the one that you would choose?
Yeah, I think these are great questions. Yeah.
Yep. Ranked on a scale from 1 to 10 for each question, 1 being and 10 being yeah.
All right. Well, let's leap in. The first movie is the Star Trek The Motion Picture. And so this one's a bit of a, there's a bunch of ways you can look at this movie. I think the other thing that's playing into this is like time period, right? So this movie came out late 70s, right?
79.
79 came out. I have the date actually right up there in the form. But it's interesting, like, you can say, well, how does this movie hold up back then versus how does it hold up today? Those are two different questions, right? When we're answering. But Miles, looking at this for the respect for Roddenberry's vision, what do you think of the score that this earned?
I think it's accurate. I think, it helps that Roddenberry was the one helming this movie. He was one of the primary writers. This was his baby, so we would expect.
So if it doesn't hold up to Roddenberry's vision, there's only one person to blame.
That's pretty much, yeah. So as far as his vision, as far as exploring the human condition, and with some of the Voyager stuff, yeah, I can't. I'm in perfect agreement. A 9, I think, it earns a 9.
Well, I think this is interesting. It earns a 9, which means that, in theory, if Roddenberry is writing this, shouldn't it be a 10, right? If we're talking about honoring his vision, he's creating it should be. But there were people that said 7, 8, 9. Why do you think people didn't just say, oh, Roddenberry created it, it holds its vision? What would be the things that maybe making people detract away from this, saying this is not really Roddenberry's vision?
My first guess would be that a lot of the messaging and the subject matter gets a little lost with the slow pacing of the movie, and it just might not feel that way. And on the flip side to it too, I mean, Roddenberry's vision is very subjective to anyone outside of Roddenberry himself, really.
Right.
I mean, It's kind of like what do we think it is? What have we come to learn of it at the time through 3 seasons of television?
Right. All
And
right. Any other
big budget movie?
Right, right. And really, in some ways, you might argue that you could have shortened this into a lengthy episode and probably have gotten most of the core stuff across, right? Because of how slow it moved.
Yeah.
There, when this movie was filmed, there was a lot of footage that was deleted that didn't make the final cut. Now, some of that cut has been restored. There was a director's version. Gosh, maybe 15 years ago. I own a copy.
And how long and how long is the director's version?
I don't know the exact time, but it's probably a good half hour longer. They tried to also clean up in the special effects and just update update the visual effects for the DVD release. But it was ambitious. It was it was very ambitious, and when they made the movie, they were behind schedule. They were over budget. I don't want to say it was snake bit, but it was going to have some problems before it got out in the movie theaters. Now, the good thing is, when you talk more about the entertainment and the gateway, it did well at the box office. It was a financial success.
Well, so I think the argument there with that though is we went for almost a decade without Trek, right?
Yep.
And you throw it on the big screen. It really, I could paint. I could probably. I don't mean this to be crass, but I could probably polish a turd, put up there, and call it Star Trek, and people are going to go watch it, right? So, I'm not saying that this movie is that. I'm just saying that that just because it was a success doesn't necessarily mean it was a good movie.
Oh yeah, people. I agree. I think people were hungry for any live action Star Trek. It didn't necessarily have to be great Star Trek.
Right. Well, let's shift. You mentioned entertainment value. Let's shift into this. While people said this does respect Roddenberry's vision, we're kind of everyone from we have people down to giving it a 1. Oh, there's one person that gave it a 10. Most people playing out kind of in the middle of the average rating about a 5. Dave, we're going to start with you. What do you think about this? The way this kind of ranked, in your opinion?
I think it's about right. I don't really disagree with that average. Yeah, that's about where I put it. Was mid. It still is, like, personally one of my favorite ones out of the bunch because of the story and the pacing a little bit and all that. It was, I thought it was, personally thought it had decent entertainment value, but it does. I'm not the one who gave it a 10, by the way, but
okay.
Yeah, but that average rating would be about right. I mean, it's a very cerebral movie. It's not your normal sci-fi pew pew type thing. It is, especially for that period of time. You look at a lot of other stuff that came out outside of Star Wars. A lot of that stuff was a little more cerebral. Made you think a little more. And again, it was like a longer Star Trek episode.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's kind of scattered across. When I watch it, for me, it does feel slow, and it's not my favorite Star Trek movie. Message aside, as far as being entertained, as far as wanting to, I have some time to kill. Let me turn on a movie. It's not going to be this one if I'm turning on a Star Trek movie. But Miles, what are your thoughts about the way this rating went down and maybe why?
I agree with the rating. I lowered it a little. I lowered it to a 4, but this is fine. I mean, this is where it gets this is where it gets it right. the visual effects of this movie are great. It looks good. The music, the score of this, lasted till Next Generation. Next Generation appropriated it. So it's a visual masterpiece. There are some good character moments with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. The problem is that they're few and far between.
So it sounds like pacing maybe is a bigger issue here as far as entertainment goes.
Well, not just pacing, but you have several minutes of the Enterprise going in this tunnel, and Sulu's looking at the screen. He's like, it's like, I can watch it for a minute or so, but you just got too much with that. Just like, it doesn't do anything for me.
Do something.
Now I will say this. I think this is where we got the term starship porn, because of the long the shuttle ride with Scotty and Kirk to the Enterprise. Some people say that scene is too long, but I think that's how the term starship porn evolved out of that, because the shuttle took the long way around and looked at every square centimeter of the Enterprise, the refitted Enterprise, which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The ship is gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, and that ship, it gets blown up later, but it gets a replacement of that same ship later on. It's
spoilers, bro.
I know, right? What was I thinking?
Wow.
But I would say probably where it's on the low side is Gene Roddenberry, God bless him, forgot one of the things that made Star Trek great was the character interactions, the relationships, and there wasn't enough of that, and that's why, like you said, the pacing, the writing does not give room for good character. Many good character modes. There's a few here and there, but we know that'll get better later on. But that's what I think this movie is suffering, is just the character moments.
Yeah. Well, so because of that kind of spread, it doesn't surprise, I don't think, any of us to say that if you were trying to get someone into Star Trek, this may not be the one that you start with, because I mean the average rating put it just below 4.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
I think that's accurate. I would not. Somebody who has never watched Star Trek, I would not go to this movie.
Yeah,
I would honestly. I'd go to the next one.
Dave's the one that put a 10, just so you know.
No. But I can see from a certain point of view.
You're crossing the streams, Steve.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. I could see there being the possibility of this being a gateway. So I don't think it ever went down to. I don't think the average was lower than what it is, because depending on who you're talking to. I mean, if I'm introducing someone to Star Trek and want to have, and then there's somebody who's just like quick and entertained, no, this is definitely not it. But if we want to showcase much more of what the heart of it is, and the individual is always more interested in story, this one would probably be much better than some, or not a bad choice. But yeah, it wouldn't be my first pick.
All right, let's move on to Wrath of Khan, because we have 14 movies to get through. So Wrath of Khan, let's talk about this. This movie came out in 1982. Often for many people, especially Trek purists, this is hailed as being one of the quintessential Trek movies of all time. Did not rate as high on the spectrum for being faithful to Roddenberry's vision. So came in at a little bit over a 7 here. What do you think of this rating as far as respect for Roddenberry's vision, and maybe why?
Well, I don't say it doesn't do it at all. I mean, I think you have Kirk exploring him getting older, and um, you have Khan um, dealing with, hey, I could get revenge on the guy that dropped me on this terrible planet. So it maybe not do it quite as much, or it doesn't maybe some of the big ideas that Gene Roddenberry explored, like in the last one of this sentient machine, the sentient, but it does explore the human condition in a lot of ways, and so it's only like I said, it's less than 2 points that it's maybe less so because it doesn't explore. But it does explore some big ideas. So with the whole Genesis device, what if is just imagining how far can technology take us? So there is some of that, and trying to struggle with the whole moral implications. Should we have a device that can do this sort of thing? I mean, when that debate and discussion argument that McCoy and Spock had, I thought that's very Star Trek right there. I was like, McCoy is saying, this is an Armageddon weapon, basically, and Spock is just coldly analyzing it, and so it does have elements of Gene's vision. Just trying to have that conversation, that debate about things, and what it is to be human, and making peace with the fact that, hey, we're all getting older, and it doesn't mean we're ready for the glue factory yet, but it might, just things change. So we can't do everything we used to do when we were in our 30s, when we're now in our 50s.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I really am disappointed that this did not rank higher, because even today, I think it's more in tune with talking about the human condition today than it was back in 1982. I mean, you bring up the Genesis device, okay? Well, just supplant the Genesis device with AI,
Mm-hmm.
and right there you have that entire dilemma solved. But you just look at Kirk alone in this, and the things he's going through, right? The getting older, big one. I mean, what more of a human condition than facing your own mortality? We deal with the topic of vengeance, and one's bloodlust because you were wronged at one point. Kirk finds out he has a son. Like, the life altering knowledge that is to him, especially going forward from this point, is such a huge thing to wrap around. And God, the death of Spock at the end. Like, the whole movie is talking about life and death.
Right.
I mean, what more human condition is that? Beginning and end. I think this was... Now, for anybody who hasn't been new to them, we'll get to this in the Gateway thing. Without watching the episode Space Seed and having the background knowledge, you might be a little lost with this. But it really doesn't matter at the end. I mean, the story alone is so full of everything that every single one of us, if you haven't dealt with, you will at some point in your life. It's I'm surprised the average was only 7.25 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, maybe flipping into the entertainment value, it rated it much higher than the motion picture did, and I can't say I'm surprised. No, I mean this. You have one of the classic fight scenes, and cat and mouse scenes, in the nebula. It's an incredible, and like the thing that wigs me out every time I watch it is the whole creature is it Sulu's, which Chekhov's
Chekhov.
there? Yeah, Chekhov's there. Like that freaks me out. Like I almost can't go to sleep at night because I'm like checking my bed for bugs or anything like that.
It creatures in your body.
Yeah. But so the entertainment value, that I don't think it surprises any of us on that. What do you any comments on that, or you want to just move on?
No, the entertainment value is there, and that's what kind of gave Star Trek a shot in the arm back in '82. Because I remember when my father wanted to see this movie on my birthday, I'm like, I didn't really enjoy the first one. Oh, okay, we'll go. And then I was pleasantly surprised how good it was, because
Right.
this took what made Star Trek great. Explore the big ideas, but also have the characters and tell some jokes, have some funny scenes, and have the best bad guy ever. Khan, played by Ricardo Montalban. And so, yeah, the entertainment value in this movie is in spades. I mean, and you don't have to be. Well, I'll just leave it there. Yeah, I'm not shocked that those of us who weighed in on this gave it such a high score.
I love submarine movies, and the ship battle in this was just a space version, especially when they got in the nebula. It was just fun, and outsmarting your opponent rather than just brute force trying to kill him. Yeah, it was very good.
Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah, it seems like it froze. Okay. Well, so then I guess it's no surprise that many people, I guess, put the gateway potential of this up really high.
Yeah.
I think, Dave, you kind of hinted that there is a little bit of, if I'm going to introduce someone to Trek, there may be some context I need to lay out for them. Maybe. Does it stand on
Rewatch Space Seed.
Mm-hmm.
Rewatch Space Seed first, then watch this.
Yeah.
A 3-hour introduction rather than a 2.
Right. All right, let's jump into Star Trek III. The Search for Spock came out 2 years later. This one ranked a little bit lower, entertainment value, coming in at 7 as far as being a respect for Roddenberry's vision. How do you feel about that?
So, I'm torn. I mean, it's not necessarily maybe some of the big ideas that Gene would explore, but life, coming back from the dead, resurrection, that's almost a spiritual quest there. Things with they explore more with the Genesis device. We see what the Genesis device can do, and they're now you have the Federation's enemies that they see it, know what it is, and they want to get their hands on it. And there's some good dialogue between Savick and Dr. Marcus about him taking ethical shortcuts to try to make this thing possible, and people had to end up dying along the way. So it's a solid 7 out of 10. That's still not bad, I think. I would argue it still explores some big ideas in the human condition, friendship. I mean, what limits will you go to help your friend? And so I would. It's still a pretty high score for exploring Gene's vision, and just there's still a lot of wrestling with moral issues in here, and three is one of my favorites. I always enjoy going back to watching 3, and hopefully as I get old, as I've gotten older, I've appreciated some of the just some of the things they explore. I'm not just entertained by it, but just trying to pick up or learn whatever lesson they're trying to teach.
Yeah, so let's jump into entertainment, and maybe along with that, the Gateway. Entertainment puts it just at under 8, and then Gateway said, maybe we wouldn't make this a high priority to show people for the first Trek experience, and that came in at 6. Actually, a majority of the people that voted gave it a 6 out of 10. Any thoughts on either one of these, the entertainment value or the gateway potential here?
I think the entertainment value is still high. You have Harv Bennett as a producer. This is Leonard Nimoy's first. This is his directorial debut, and I thought he killed it. There's the what's his name? Krug, played brilliantly by Christopher Lloyd. You had a great bad guy in this movie, and you had the Klingons back, so that brought some, the entertainment back. Kirk and Krug have a great fight scene on the planet. There's some basic elements if you want to make it entertaining and fun, and this movie did that, I thought.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it, and not to mention just the sheer emotional hit the first time that you would watch it, of seeing the Enterprise going down in flames. Like, the ship was a character. It was a beloved character through everything up to this point. And seeing this thing, the one thing Kirk would fight and die for, and he kills it. He blows it up to save everybody else and to keep fighting. It was just so... even now watching it again, it's so strong, so powerful with just that image.
All right, let's jump into Star Trek IV. The Voyage Home came out 2 years after that. And so it scored fairly high for Roddenberry's vision. But I want to tell you a story a little bit about the gateway potential and entertainment value. For me, well, number one, it was off the charts entertainment value. Very few people rated it below a 10. Like, it was like, we have 11 out of our constituents that were actually, voting at the... And gateway potential also scored high. And the story that I have is I actually used this as a gateway movie for Star Trek to introduce Star Trek to my daughter. And this is a movie that we sat down and watched, and she was rolling on the ground laughing at this movie because there's so much humor in it. And yes, there's a story, the Save the Whales and all that, but just... you put this crew back into the 1980s, and hilarity and shit. It's just great. And so it doesn't surprise me that the entertainment value was up there, the gateway potential was also high, just from personal experience of having actually walked this movie, using this movie as a gateway. For me, if I was looking at the older Trek movies, like the one with the Next Gen and the original crew, this is the one that I would bring in to introduce people to Trek. And I think because of the hilarity of it. And plus, Miles, this has to be high. This is time travel, bud.
Oh, yeah.
So,
there's the sci-fi science fiction elements of it. There's very few things this movie doesn't have going for itself. And again, this is a movie Leonard Nimoy directed, so he did a serious one that had some comedic elements in 3, and then in 4 had more of a comedic movie that had some serious elements to it. He had to lighten things up for the next one, and he did a bang up job with this one. Taking people from the future, taking them to the past, and see how they act and react. That always works. I could spend a lot of time on how wonderful this movie is. And when I saw it in theaters, I saw it in a theater in Brooklyn, New York, and at the end of the movie, everybody applauded. They're like, it was just everybody. We just filled us all with joy just watching this thing.
Everyone applauded when the guy in the bus got knocked out.
Except for me.
Like
I want to hear the rest of the song.
All right, let's move into Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Came out 3 years later. Did not score as high regarding Roddenberry's vision. Entertainment value came in at middle, and oh God, people are saying, no way, we are not introducing people to Star Trek through Star Trek V. So what happened that, I mean, we still have a pretty high respect for Roddenberry's vision, but what happened that caused people to react this way to Star Trek V?
Ridiculous
well, they
story.
And William Shatner, he did not do a great job, with writing this movie, and I don't know. Well, directing it. If you hear his co-stars said he was actually a pretty good director, and you don't always hear kind things from his co-stars. But Dave is right. The story was just weak, and I think the greatest sin of this movie is Shatner made Captain Kirk look strong by making everybody else look weak, and I think that's unforgivable. I mean, if you're trying to tell a good story, you want everybody to have their time in the sun. You want everybody to have an opportunity to shine, and if they're just there to make the hero look good by having them needing saving from him, it's just unlike Leonard Nimoy in the movies that he directed and it had a hand in writing. He tried to make his supporting characters look strong too and have their moment in the sun.
Especially coming out of 2 and 3. Yeah, you didn't need to do that. Like, you're Captain Kirk, bro. We know. It's cool.
I guess maybe the temptation there is when you're writing a movie and you are a character in it, it is kind of it's a terrible writing technique to kind of put you in more and not consider the other characters.
Well,
but
did he write it?
He had a hand in writing it. Okay. I mean, I don't think he wrote it by himself. I think he had help. But in reading his book, his Star Trek movie memories, I mean, these were ideas that he wanted to explore.
Okay.
So it was. I'll have to go back and see, how this movie was written, but Shatner had his hand on it.
All right, let's move into Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, coming out 2 years later. Respect for Roddenberry's vision, pretty high, 7 out of 10. About an 8 out of 10 for entertainment, but people were kind of in the middle about whether or not they would use this movie to actually introduce people to Star Trek. So let's talk about this movie, and we can talk about any of these things. Dave, you have some comments here. Go ahead.
This was one of my favorites for a very, very long time. Like, it really was. You're seeing a historic shift in this, and when we're talking about Roddenberry's vision, you look at the overarching thing here, where, for lack of a better term, you're dealing with overcoming racism, right?
Yeah.
Kirk's getting over or putting aside his for what is good to do. You've got people on both sides, enemies, who end up working together to try to prevent it from happening. Because why? I mean, the Starfleet military-industrial complex. We got to keep the wars going on to keep the ship and weapon lines moving. What is it? but there's a lot of having to overcome these hatreds that they've been holding on to for so long. I mean, that is such a big issue and a big topic that they tackle in this thing, and they do it wonderfully in the good Trek way, where you really don't know that you're having this put in front of you unless you're really thinking about it. But I mean, the effects were fantastic. I mean, you get to see Sulu. He's a captain. He's got his own ship now. I mean, how cool is that? Mm-hmm. You know, and seeing again, they're dealing with, you know, the whole facing their own mortality again. You know, having their little Murtaugh moment. You know, they're a little too old for this stuff. You know, let's just go home. We're retiring already. Spock screwed us up, pulled us out of the freaking home again. You know, it's been one of my very favorites. Now, I don't know that it would be big for Gateway because there's a lot of backstory here for this, but based on entertainment wise, I could start somebody on this one, no problem.
Yeah, when the entertainment actually scored fairly high. The Gateway wasn't the worst, but it's kind of just average.
Yeah.
Average.
It's hard for it to be a gateway because this is the last movie,
right?
Well, that we were told the original crew was going to be a part of, and there's a finality to that, and so, yeah, I don't know. I would use something that's like, well, this is their last mission. Maybe I'd do something a little sooner than that. This is also a last Star Trek movie. Leonard Nimoy directs too, and Harv Bennett produces. So, I as gateway value, maybe not as so much, but as far as Gene's vision, I mean, Spock was trying to tell the story of basically how the U.S. and the Soviet Union finally ended the Cold War, and Gorkin was a type of Mikhail Gorbachev. So, you know, just at least if not peace, at least ceasing some hostilities and trying to forge a path towards peace. I mean, if you're a fan of Star Trek and all the lore, you know, we find out in Next Generation, you know, Federation and Klingons do sign peace accords, but this is like the very start of that. So yeah, as far as respecting Gene's vision, I thought this did a very good job with that. The entertainment value, yeah, I mean, it hits all the right notes. There's a good balance between what, you know, seriousness and humor in this movie, and we get an epic battle scene. You know, with you know, and Sulu helps come save the day. So yeah, there's very few things in this movie I could find wrong. I thought it hit all the right notes, and it was the perfect send off for the crew of the Enterprise.
Yeah. I'm still bitter that I never got to see this one in theaters. I was 8 years old when this one came out, and that was the first one that came out when I was old enough to be aware and really into it, and I never got to see it there. I'm still kind of bitter about that.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come out in theaters. They'll be putting some.
Sorry about that, Dave.
You know, I was 8. It's 91.
So let's move into Star Trek Generations. Here we begin to bring in the TNG cast, and people said, you know, as you know, they gave it like a 7 out of 10 about for respecting Gene's vision. Same with the entertainment value, and we're kind of if you look at the chart, it's kind of split across. No one said that this is a 9 or 10 as far as gateway value, but we're kind of mixed from people saying absolutely not, no way, and how up to, yeah, I could see it being kind of a gateway thing. So let's talk about this and maybe why it split.
They could have done this so much better. Like, I've always looked at this movie as a torch passing movie, and really
right.
Nothing more.
Is this the one where the saucer separates? I'm just trying to
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
Yes.
And they destroy the Enterprise. Like, I saw an Enterprise destroyed already. Come on, you're gonna wreck another one. That's why you don't let
Yeah,
women
but
drive.
this is just a saucer. It was fantastic.
That's why you don't let women drive.
Whoa.
I'm
And
only kidding.
suddenly
Dave said that, not me.
the Sci-Fi Diner becomes a misogynistic podcast. Thanks.
Send
to
your
you, Dave.
comments to SciFi Diner Podcast at gmail.com. Attention, Dave.
Yes, Ashley. Dave Sellers at.
Yeah. They should have left the original opening scene in this movie. Kirk was pretty much doing a low orbit free fall dive, parachuting in. And Chekhov and Scotty are on the ground, watching for him, trying to wait for him because they're going to be late to getting to the inaugural cruise of the Enterprise B. They're retired. And there's a good dialogue in there between Kirk and between the three of them about Kirk feeling very restless in his retirement. Like, he was ready for it, he was going, then he's retired, and now he's just can't sit still, can't do anything. He's missing something. And they cut that opening out, which just really bothers me because it's such a great character building thing to showing why Kirk does what he does in that opening scene on the Enterprise B when they find the Nexus. It just bugs me they cut that.
Yeah. Well, and talk about something that's human. I mean, when you look at people like getting too old to do a job, but still having a passion for the job.
They move across an ocean.
They do. They moved to Portugal. But, it's it is interesting. What is, as far as when you look at these ratings, anything stick out to you? Anything surprise you as you look at this one?
I guess a lot of people, the entertainment level was just average. I think it was. I'm not sure if it deserves such a low score with that. I mean, I think there was some of the entertainment value was up there. I think Data getting his emotion chip and seeing some of the fun stuff he did was hilarious. There were some good humorous moments with Data and sad moments. I mean, he had a meltdown and had a crisis of confidence. So I think the entertainment value might be a little bit better than what we have here, but
and giving Kirk a proper, honestly, a proper send off. We spent a lifetime watching him be the hero, and I never liked him just retiring and going off into the sunset. He died the hero. I think that was the only way they could really end that character.
Right. And why do you think this is not for you, for a lot of people, that this was kind of a mixed bag regarding gateway potential?
Probably because of the blending of the two eras.
The two eras, yeah.
Yeah.
that would have been confusing.
Yeah. Well, and we don't get that when you get, so let's jump into First Contact. Kind of an average rating as far as Roddenberry's vision, but entertainment value off the charts and pretty high gateway potential for this movie. What are your thoughts about any of these categories?
See, I would put it up a little higher with Roddenberry's vision, because I think one thing in exploring the human condition, they took a little more time to explore Picard's PTSD from dealing with the Borg. They only dealt it one episode in TNG, and then he was fine. And it's just like, and we'll just forget about the fact that they're going to let him still serve as a captain of a starship. We'll just suspend our disbelief there. But Picard is still hurting, and so they explore that. Excuse me a second. My cat is being very distracting. But so I mean, in this movie, they explore. Picard is still a broken man, but he still has he has a mission. He has to save the Earth and save the galaxy from the Borg. So I think that the respect for Gene's vision might be should be a little higher. I would think.
You can definitely tell you're you got a movie here that Gene's not involved in. You can definitely feel like the shift for the movie was starting to trail away from telling a good Star Trek story to a little more action-packed. And not surprisingly, pulled the Borg for it, which I mean, why wouldn't you at that point? Voyager hadn't ruined him yet. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting seeing the scores all make sense to me. The way they're distributed like that. Yeah. And you get to see a new Enterprise for the first time. How cool was that?
Mm-hmm. Very.
Yeah. Yeah, people definitely seem to like this movie as a general rule. Do you recall how it was received when it came out?
Very positive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like people are like, oh, this is much better than Generations. So, so I think the response, people were very happy. I mean, I saw it several times in the theaters, so I was happy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Insurrection. All right, the follow-up movie here, and something in my head said that this movie got a little bit of a muddled reception from Trekkies. So I'm kind of surprised. It's up there high as far as Roddenberry's vision. And then we're kind of split when it comes to entertainment value, right? All the way from 1 all the way up to, a couple of 9, and we're kind of in between. And then maybe one of the lower gateway potential ones, most people scoring this at a 5. Can we talk a little bit? I think one of the things I'm curious about in your guys' opinion is, so what makes this high as far as honoring Roddenberry's vision? Because I think that this is interesting to me.
So this is where I would think it does a good job of honoring Gene's vision. Is I guess it explores the issue of colonialism. I mean, just do we have the this planet has these resources, this radiation, this metaphasic radiation that helps keep people young, and but there's these people living on this planet, and it's just like they wrestle with the fact that, all right, there's less than 100 people living on this planet, but if we harvest what's on this planet, we can help a lot of people, the Federation and elsewhere. And Picard's like saying, no, this is these people's home. You don't have a right to displace these people. So it explores. It does a good job of wrestling with the question. We could help more people if we harvest what this planet has and bring it to the Federation. We'll just resettle and put these people someplace else. But we're not gonna. We'll give them a home, and actually, they tried to fool these people with this holodeck simulation. But so I think it did a good job of like. I'm having a hard time phrasing it. Just that.
Do the needs of the many really outweigh the needs of the few?
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It lost me the movie almost completely lost me the minute Riker started flying the Enterprise like it was a 1998 Microsoft Flight Simulator game. When the joystick pops up and he starts no. This is stupid. What is this? Yeah, that about had me irritated enough for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, entertaining. Yeah, the Roddenberry's vision part. You're absolutely right, Miles. You hit that one right on the head. That was a very deep topic. That was very, very well done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gateway. Yeah, a little too slow and boring. A little too love festy.
I would agree. As a Gateway, maybe not so much. But if you're a TNG fan and if you love these characters, I think this is a pretty solid movie. Oh. I mean, it's not, it's they're not saving the Federation from the Borg, but they're just, there's a small group of people on this planet, and the Federation and the Sona want to harvest what. Basically what would destroy the whole planet. So the stakes aren't as high in this movie, but I think it argues and struggles with morals and ethics. I think.
And you get to see Worf get a pimple.
And yeah.
Well, let's move on to start. There's a charted.
Needs more power.
Yeah, yeah, but so it when I look down through this movie, you had a 2.3 in Gateway potential, in the 3.7 for the entertainment value, and a 3.7 for respect for Roddenberry's vision. This is low. Let's talk about this movie.
This is disappointing to me, and I wonder if everything ranked that low because they killed Data at the end.
Because what?
They killed Data at the end.
Oh, that's not why I rated it low.
Yeah, because, the Roddenberry vision thing, I kind of get it a little bit, but you're really exploring the age-old question that everybody at some point has in their mind. What if I turned left instead of turning right in my life? Where would I have gone? If maybe I didn't get into this college and I got to this college, which direction would my life go? How much of of who you are is based on all of the circumstances, all of the events in your life building up, and how different could that be? And that's a big topic, but it was very overshadowed with all the other kind of crap there. And not to mention, then you end up dealing with the death of a very close friend that, by all reasonable expectation, should be practically immortal. Yeah, so, and again, those big topics were overshadowed by all of the theatrics and stuff like that. I mean, entertainment value being that low, I don't get that, man. I was pretty entertained by that movie.
See, for me, when I look at this movie, I did find it, and I get the Roddenberry vision, I get the Gateway part, but I did find it entertaining.
Yeah.
But
all right, so I'm going to push back a little.
Ooh, yes.
This is why, for me, the entertainment value. This is where I think you have to have there needs to be a continuum between the Roddenberry vision and the entertainment value. And what was lost was the writers just didn't. So whatever you think about the Prime Directive, you hate it, love it, whatever. According to Picard, that was the gospel when it comes to exploring planets and going to planets that were less advanced. You did not mess with the planet's culture. And here they find the android parts, and they say, oh, we'll just send a shuttle and we'll go dune buggying, and we'll have a shootout with these aliens. And this would never have happened during the show. I mean, this is treated with such levity that it was entertaining to watch, but it wasn't Star Trek, because I know how Picard and Starfleet officers is like.
This is going to be Dave's argument, by the way, for the next movie.
So
No.
and I agree with Dave. The concept of, all right, what would have happened if you lived a different life, and what other choices would you make?
I want to argue that this is kind of now it was a rehash of the big screen, but they kind of explored this in Next Generation in the Time Traveler episode, where the guy comes supposedly from the future, but he's not. Mm-hmm. And Picard's, pontificating, like, what if I would have married Suzanne or went to the dance with this person? They kind of explored this whole idea prior.
Well, what I was going to say was, the concept of the nature versus nurture. Mm-hmm. Picard Picard was going to, he worked hard. He got in Starfleet Academy. He moved up the ranks. His clone, which they were going to use to infiltrate, the Romulans were going to use to infiltrate Starfleet and cause all kinds of problems. They decided, we're not going to do that. We'll just dump them on our slave planet, and we find out what happens to the Picard clone after being mistreated by the Romulans and being raised by the Remans. He ends up being the bad guy in this film, and I just don't think the concept. The execution wasn't as good as the concept.
But, so flip the perspective a little bit with that one. Does Shinzon become, again, it depends on your point of view. To us, Shinzon becomes the bad guy. If you look at it from the other perspective, here it was this discarded clone dumped onto the dilithium mines on Remus, but rises in power. He steps up to the occasion. He becomes what he can, the best that he can be in that moment, and ends up overthrowing the entire his basically his captors and his tormentors. To me, that alone, that the ability, the one's ability to do that, is very Picard-like. I'm going to step up. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be the leader. We're going this way, and this is what we're going to do. Yeah. Just from a different perspective. So how much of Shinzon is Picard? How much of Picard is in Shinzon? But the choices they made and the direction they went were different. Both going up the ladder, just two different mm-hmm. sides of the scaffold.
Yeah, is
the way I tended to look at that one. Now it's taken me years to look at it that way, but definitely seeing the mirror, looking into that mirror of one another, the way he talks about it.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, let's move into we took a break for a few years, and then J.J. Abrams got a hold of Star Trek. In 2009, we had Star Trek come out. And this movie was kind of, a quasi reboot of Star Trek, the endeavor to bring Star Trek to a new generation of watchers. And people said, people that rated this said that this was about a 5 regarding Roddenberry's vision, but the entertainment value off the charts. as well as the gateway potential up very high. Yeah, so let's talk about our thoughts about this. And let's go. So first of all, I know that I haven't said a whole lot, but let me talk about this from my perspective. This movie, while I get the whole Roddenberry, we're kind of like, we're not concerned about Roddenberry's vision here. What we are concerned about is chases, action, kind of seeing how the characters got together on the ship. And we're seeing modern characters with some sex appeal to them. They're now part of this. And it makes it very high in the entertainment. In fact, I was watching the opening scenes just a few days ago because I just love the opening sequence of it. And I was just missing all the lens flare that this movie got flamed for. But certainly I see the gateway potential as being high. Like if you want to introduce someone to Star Trek, it's high. If you want to be entertained, it's high. I also get that why it's going to be kind of middle of the road regarding this entertainment value. I mean, Roddenberry's vision. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit.
So it did succeed as far as the gateway. This movie, as far as that goes, is probably the most successful out of all the Star Trek movies, because you had, from the last Star Trek movie came out in 2002. This movie comes out in summer of 2009. We had a dry spell of live action Star Trek for a while, but a lot of people who were not fans of Star Trek were fans after watching this, and they did go back and watch the other Star Trek, the other series and the other movies. So this movie is very successful in being a gateway drug to more Star Trek.
That breaks my heart.
Dave, but Dave, I actually want to hear from you. I know that we've talked many times before the show about that you just are not you're not a JJ fan of these movies, but this obviously, we're looking at these in these different categories. What are your thoughts when it comes to like entertainment value and gatewayness?
Oh, there's no doubt that there's entertainment value to it. I mean, I watched this movie in theaters at least twice. Went out and bought the DVD the minute it came out because it's Trek, and I'm a Trek whore when it comes to this kind of stuff. But it is highly entertaining. The gateway part of it, it breaks my heart a bit to know that it was so successful as a gateway part because of the lack of Roddenberry vision, because of that respect. Because my Star Trek, for the most part, really respected that more. And to see new people get in and actually go back and watch the rest of it, I'd be the real question I would really have is, okay, this is what got you there. This is what brought you to the house, walked you in the front door. Now that you've seen the rest of the house, does this still have the same curb appeal as it did when you walked in?
Right. And that would be like, we would need to do a whole different kind of study on that if we were to do that.
Right. Like if I'm going up to an old, 1800s home, thinking, okay, this should be pretty cool and rustic inside, and I walk in and it's all completely modern, I'm going to be a little off-put, a little upset. Like this really isn't what I thought it was. So I'm wondering if some sort of that same effect, has had on people once they've explored the IP farther.
Right. They went in and said, "What? This doesn't look like the Apple Store."
Right.
Right. This is how you sound.
Right.
But yeah.
And then go into the next one, leading.
Yeah, let's go into Into Darkness. So now this one was so this first one kind of had its own story, right? Didn't seem to be rehashing, at least as far as I know, it wasn't really 2009 Trek was not rehashing a lot of other Trek.
No.
But they redid the Wrath of Khan in 2013 and failed to accomplish Roddenberry's vision, even though they were using a reused storyline. This rated at 3.8 on the scale. Entertainment value, not as high as the first one, as well as gateway potential. People kind of were in the middle regarding it. So not quite as successful overall. What do you guys, I mean, I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it, but I can see that it wasn't as strong as the first one.
Agreed. I mean, I saw it a couple times in the theaters, but I don't think it succeeded in trying to retell the episode Space Seed in the movie Wrath of Khan. It just seemed a little on the nose, and you got to be careful when you try to play homage to something. It just when it works. And I mean, you got one of the best actors in the world, Benedict Cumberbatch, to play the baddie, but I don't know if he was a great Khan. He was a great bad guy, but he was not a good Khan in this movie.
Right.
I mean, if you just got to do it from a story perspective, you got to find a way to bring some of those, what made Khan such a good bad guy. And I had said before, if he wanted him to be Khan, there should have been some kind of line in there. Just say, look, after I woke up, I didn't know who I was. I had a face I didn't recognize. Just something to say. Starfleet did cosmetic surgery on him because he looks nothing like Ricardo Montalban. There's no way to confuse the two. I would have been happy if he would have just been one of Khan's unnamed people in that group. It would work just as fine. He could have been John Harrison, and it would have worked. He has to be Khan. You could have saved Khan.
So you think that one of the issues is that they tried to make him Khan, and it would have worked much better without him being Khan.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been Khan. He should have just been one of Khan's henchmen or whatever, and it would have still worked.
Yeah, it would have worked better, honestly.
I agree. Yeah, it would have worked a lot better if he was not Khan.
Yeah, and once and you could lead into the story, figuring out where they found these people, and then as the viewer, who's familiar with Trek, that, oh crap, this was one of Khan's guys. They woke up the wrong one. He's still there.
Yeah,
right.
And now you can start. You could have made another 4 movies off of that storyline alone, had you not made that Khan. And that would have given you time to find an actual guy with some Indian descent who would look like it. I mean, I know it was a British colony at one point, but I don't need an Englishman playing Khan. To actually cast that role right and to start to tell that story better. And because the Enterprise crew, they don't have the same relationships as the originals did. When you killed Kirkhoff this time in the engine room, what emotion am I getting from that between Spock and them? We have no. You've said you're better friends now. You show a little bit of you getting along, but I don't have all of this time of you becoming, each other's left and right arm. The lack of emotional buildup and the connection was not there if you didn't already bring it with you from everything before.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of that was earned. That they tried to.
It was not earned at all
in this movie.
So this movie was kind of middle of the road, but when we got to Star Trek Beyond, people were a little bit more favorable toward this movie. A respect for Roddenberry's vision, a little bit higher, almost at a 7. Entertainment value, definitely a little bit more consistently high, almost at an 8. And then gateway potential, perhaps a little bit more middle of the road. But let's talk about this last, I guess, major motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
Good job starting to hit a stride with how you're telling stories and what kind of stories you're telling. I mean, marketable difference between Into Darkness from 2009 to Into Darkness to this. I mean, a very, very noticeable difference. The one problem I had was all the talk from the characters about, wanting to step down, wanting to go home, and kind of everybody's really weary from this 5-year mission in deep space and yada yada. But we don't feel that because we've only got three movies with you. And after the second one, you were still at Earth. You weren't even out on your 5-year mission yet. So you're picking up at the end of it. That part just lost a lot for me. Mm. But definitely the story, the villain, actually getting some backstory and seeing the way they develop the bad guy a little bit. You get to get into that one a little bit more. There is the Roddenberry vision part. I can really, really see a little bit more with that in this one. Right.
For me, this was the most Star Trek out of all these three movies.
Yeah.
And you had Simon Pegg and Doug Jung went back and looked at other incarnations of Star Trek. They incorporated elements of Enterprise into this movie. And so, if you're a fan of the lore, you would have been more, oh, yeah, I know what that is. I remember that now. And so they tried to incorporate that more. Kirk is not trying to figure out how to be a captain now. He's not sure if that's what he wants to keep doing or not, but he's the leader now. There's no question. He's not struggling to be a leader now. It's, he knows what he needs to do. I thought the elements with the moments with Spock and McCoy, it felt like watching the original series with those two. It was just that was a little emotional for me watching that, because I was just like, I felt like they channeled DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy when they were in their performances.
Best performances in that whole movie were those two, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I mean, Carl Urban and Zachary Quinto were tremendous. Their chemistry is just tremendous in those scenes. Idris Elba playing the bad guy. Complicated villain. So it hit a lot more. I mean, this movie resonated more with me. This is my favorite out of the trilogy. I thought it felt like more of the Star Trek I know and love.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, let's jump to our very last one. This one, there's no surprise. We threw in Star Trek Section 31, which was kind of a made-for-TV movie type thing.
Thank God.
And this just, the highest this scored any category was a 2 for entertainment value. And it was like, you would not want to show this to your mother as far as a gateway thing, and absolutely totally disrespecting Roddenberry's vision inside and out. So I guess no real surprises there.
No, it's just this is the proper ratings for that steaming pile of dog mess. I don't even know what the heck that was. Unless they had Star Trek in the name, you wouldn't have even known it was Star Trek.
I think the one thing, Miles, that when we were at Farpoint this past year, they were talking about it, and the one guy was talking about it.
Robert Kaczynski.
If there was a director's cut, I'd kind of be interested to see it, because it sounds like there was a good 20 minutes to half an hour left in the cutting room floor, and according to him, whatever that means, that actually fleshed out the story better. And so, but I could certainly see the way it aired, it obviously not a lot of love among Star Trek fans. So, Yeah. All right. So this is our list, and yeah. So let us know your thoughts. Did you agree with what's on this list? Disagree? Did you have your own thoughts? You can email us at the SciFi Diner Podcast at gmail.com or message us on Facebook. Any other thoughts before we go out of this talking about these 14 movies?
This is an interesting way to look at, instead of a long form review, just to say, okay, I like that we'll pick 3 elements, and how well does it,
Well, and I think it's easy to look at these from Roddenberry's, but then when you look at these from like just because it's high on the charts for Roddenberry's vision doesn't mean it's very entertaining, or doesn't mean it's great for someone who's never seen Star Trek before. And so to look at these from different angles, I think, and we could have probably picked some other angles yet, but it took us over an hour to kind of walk through this anyway. And it's just one of those things, the way it kind of works out. So I agree that there's a lot more we could have said, and we could have dissected these movie by movie. I think we've done that to some degree over the years, but this was a good way to kind of analyze them and getting your input, those of you that are listening, your input into what makes a Star Trek. Yeah. All right. Well, I believe that takes us, that's it. So Miles, why don't you take us out of the show?
All right. Till next time, good night and good luck.
We'll see ya.
And go boldly.